Hi, this is Len His Mystery with another edition of Mystery Mail International Travel Edition. This is the first one of these that I've ever done, but I get a lot of questions about international travel. I know 139 people will watch this video, let's be honest, but if I convince one of them to travel internationally and it changes their life, well, mission accomplished. So, let me open my book of secrets, my book of lies. These are questions that I've written down, questions that I've been asked quite frequently in my travels or about my travels, so I thought I would address these specific questions for you. Mystery: do you need a visa to travel internationally? Generally, you do not need a visa if you have a U.S. passport, but of course it depends where you go. So I'm in the EU right now, I don't need a visa. I can stay for 90 days without a visa. If I were to stay longer, if I wanted to stay longer, I'd have to have a good reason, and I would have to get a special visa for that. I went to Brazil a few years ago, and I needed a visa for that. I had to physically take my passport to the Brazilian embassy in, I think it was San Francisco or Los Angeles or wherever I was closest to at the time. And they mailed it back to me a few weeks later, and it was about $350 for that visa. The good news is that visa was valid for the life of the passport. Bad news in my case was the passport only had one more year before it expired anyway, so that was a bummer. But worth it because I went to Carnival and it was really cool. Most visas, though, that I had to get, like Turkey, is just a quick online sort of form that you fill out. You pay $20 US or something like that, and it's tied to your passport. So when you arrive, they have it in the computer, they scan your passport, your visa pops up, and it's really easy. But yeah, generally you don't really need a visa if you're going to the standard countries that Americans typically travel to. Mystery: how do you book flights and accommodation? Flights, Google Flights, and Kayak. I do it in full privacy mode in Firefox with all the privacy extensions and delete cookies and everything like that, so they don't jack up the prices. I do that for all my general browsing anyway, but it's especially important for things like airline flight searches. Accommodation, I use Booking.com. I don't use Airbnb, mostly because I just never felt like creating another account. I have too many accounts as it is. Booking.com is a Dutch website. The people who post their private residences on Booking.com often do the same on Airbnb. Booking.com also searches for hotels, standard traditional hotels, as well as private accommodation, so you really get a good overview of what you might expect to pay. Mystery: how do you get by with a 34-liter backpack? So yeah, this is 34 liters, but I want to get even smaller, and I found a few ways to do that. I'm not going to travel with jeans next time. When I hit it, the microphone's right here, so when I did that, probably was pretty noisy for you. I'm very sorry. Very sorry. I'm not going to travel. See, look how dirty my jeans get from this moss. I have a green ass. Mystery with the green ass. Oh yes, I'm going to get a smaller pack next time. 34 liters, I'm going to go down to below 30, I think. This fits under the seat in front of me on airlines, which is really important in Europe because, well, maybe in the States too now, I don't know, but the cheap airlines like Ryanair and EasyJet, they charge you for carry-on luggage now too. But if it fits under the seat in front of you and you don't utilize the overhead space, it's free.
Okay, where's the fire, huh?
I see people with the big suitcases, the rolly suitcases, the hard-sided packs and stuff like that. And they have multiple, they have the checked one, and then they have their smaller one, and then they have their personal item. It's like, that can't be fun.
Okay, you know what? Just grab me a little paws off of my bag, okay? It's not like I have a bomb in here. It's not like I want to blow up the plane. Sir. I just want to stow my bag.
Yeah, that's not the way I want to travel. I want to be more nimble. The fewer possessions you have, whether you're traveling internationally, whether you're living in a van, whether you live in a sticks and bricks home, the fewer possessions you have, the more freeing and the more liberating it is. I think that's true of everybody. It's certainly true of me. More of like the nuts and boltsy kind of stuff. I just have a lot of things that I want to change frequently. So socks and underwear, I have more pairs of those than I do of obviously pants or this jacket I bought at an H&M in Edinburgh. I knew I would need a jacket. I didn't want to take one with me because I started off in Italy where it was really hot. The big stuff I don't have much of, and I just look kind of the same every day, but I don't care. I was traveling in Cambodia one time and I met this German guy. He had just gotten back from India where he had a motorbike. He bought a motorbike and was traveling all around India on his motorbike. And he had his backpack. He had a big backpack, like, probably a 80 or 90 liter hiking backpack. And he had it on the back of his motorbike. And somewhere along the way, he traveled for a couple 100 kilometers in one day, got to the fuel station and looked at the back of his motorbike and his pack was gone. It had fallen off somewhere on the route. And he knew by that point it was too late. Like, there's no going back. It was gone. Getting windy. Luckily, he had his wallet in his pocket, so he had money in his card. So he just said to himself, well, what do I need to keep going? How do I rebuild my life? He said, well, I'm going to need socks and underwear. I'm going to need toothpaste. I'm going to need deodorant, soap, the basic stuff, you know, and he just kind of rebuilt his life that way. And he was one of the first people who sort of introduced international minimalism to me, because before that, I was traveling with, you know, a 90-liter hiking pack that people use for backcountry camping and stuff like that. If you're just traveling like I am, this is perfectly suitable for me. Mystery, do you always get your passport stamped? Well, this is not something you have to worry about, because if you do need to get it stamped, they'll stamp it, and if you don't, they won't. It's just more of a curiosity question that a lot of people have. So if you go to the UK, for example, and you have a US passport, they funnel you to this line with like EU citizens, Canadian, Australian, Japanese, whatever. And you enter this little portal, you put your passport face down, and then you stare at a camera, and the camera scans your face. And there's probably some guy on the other side of the curtain who's saying like, oh yeah, he matches, he can go. And there's no stamp. If you go to the EU, where I am now, you get a stamp upon arrival to wherever you end up. I flew originally from Minneapolis to Frankfurt, Germany, then Frankfurt to Florence, Italy. So when I landed in Frankfurt, Germany from Minneapolis, I got an EU stamp. And then I flew from Frankfurt to Florence, and there's no immigration because it's all European Union. It's just like traveling from like North Dakota to South Dakota.
Why the do we need 2 Dakotas?
Mystery, how do you meet people while traveling? This is the toughest one as I've gotten older, because I travel alone and I don't stay at youth hostels anymore. They used to be called youth hostels, now they're just called hostels. Yeah, you just kind of grow out of them. I was in Zambia, in Livingston, Zambia one time. I was staying in a 16-person dorm. This was the last time I stayed in a hostel, because there were these 3 Danish guys taking their gap year after high school before going to college, which I think everybody should do. And they came back home from a night of drinking, and they were just pissed drunk and passed out on their bunk beds. And there was this poor British girl who had a flight to London the next morning, and she had her backpack just kind of over in the corner against the wall. It was like a duffel bag, or like a backpack kind of like this, but with a horseshoe zip. For whatever reason, she left it open. Her clothes were perfectly folded and neatly stacked in there, and she was ready to fly out the next morning. About 7 o'clock in the morning, one of these Danish kids got up from his bunk, and he was still blackout drunk and just stumbling around. There was a bathroom, but I guess he couldn't find his way there, so he just went over to the corner where her bag was, put his hand up against the wall, and just emptied his bladder into her bag. The girl screamed, and then another guy jumped down and like grabbed him and brought him to the bathroom. So that was the last hostel I ever stayed at. I don't like going to dinner by myself, and one thing that was nice about staying in hostels was you would meet other people, other travelers, and you'd be like, hey, I want to go to this restaurant, you want to come with me? Yeah, let's go. Mostly it's okay, because I like to keep to myself anyway, but I have sort of reevaluated my international travel scheme. Now it's, you know, stay at private accommodation and house sit. I think in the future it might be more cycling, where I'm not in big cities and I'm just traveling and maybe camping and bike packing in different places around Europe, around different places around the world. I don't know yet. Mystery, what if I've never traveled abroad? You see people on YouTube, not me, but like actual people with big channels who are traveling around and have these cool videos and music and stuff and drones. That would be the first thing, is just not be put off by the fancy stuff. The biggest thing I would say is, if you've never traveled anywhere before, if you're a US citizen, for example, just go to Canada, go to Mexico, just drive there. Same language in Canada, mostly, but different currency, different culture, different etiquette. So you'll get a little taste of international travel, but it won't seem as foreign to you. If you don't want to do that, or if you've done it before and you're like, Mystery, come on, I would say go to London. That would be a really good option, because you can get there really cheaply. I just bought a flight from London to Vancouver, BC for $250 US. It's a different culture, different currency. They drive on the left side of the road, different food, but similar language. You will still deal with some culture shock, some differences that you're not used to. And then from London, you can fly or take the channel to Paris, or fly to Rome or Madrid or Barcelona or something. And you can get there really cheaply. I'm flying from Malaga here in Spain to Cardiff, Wales for $39 US, and this bag right next to me fits under the seat in front of me, so there's no baggage fee. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the world. Bye.
He's got the hope.
that different? I don't think so. Combine these two states with a total population of 1.6 million get 4 senators. California, with a total population of, have you seen the 405? Get 2. There are more people in California named Dakota than there are in the Dakotas.